Hi, lovies. This is Christina with Karma's Eye Psychic LLC here on Universal Spirit Podcast, also known as Mystical Charms. And today we are going to be talking about some common places that psychics avoid. Often people think that psychics can be everywhere. We certainly cannot. Psychics are extremely sensitive to energy, and being in large groups and certain events can be, in a word to us, disturbing. Not always negative, because disturb is to interrupt what is originally taking place. We could be trying to concentrate, we could be trying to feel good, we could be trying to just, take it slow, and then being in overly crowded places and places where the energy is just very uneven or even very intense, we cannot handle for long periods of time. Sometimes we will be in those places in short periods of time, or we will just avoid those places altogether. Since all places have a certain purpose, the intention of them can greatly impact our energy, and psychics more so. Alternatively, we will be briefly assessing the places where we would rather be opposed to places we would not like to be. So I did get this idea from a woman off of TikTok. However, I have been compiling a lot of this information before that, but she does make a good point in her video. So check out that link below in the description. So the first thing I'm going to address, it's going to be from lightest, like to heaviest feelings of energy. The first one is malls. Okay. Malls, to be honest with you, are all about just buying. It's about, ego, looking good, attachment to material things, and mostly fear, right? Because stuff is expensive, we might not have a lot of money, and we can feel all those intense energies. Okay, people are walking at different paces. The noises are very distracting, and on top of that, there's music. So malls have a lot of uneven energy that it's like you are hearing more than what is being put out, right? People are talking, but you are hearing the energy instead. Okay. Opposed to that, psychics would rather be in places that are, if they're going to be crowded like that, would be places like churches or places of worship. That's because people are, in fact, mostly 90% are doing the exact same thing at the exact same time. Yes, it's loud. Yes, it's intense. But there is a collective consciousness that what is expected of us to do at that moment. It's a lot more organized, and it's a lot more predictable, and it's a lot easier on a psychic mind. The next one is cinemas or the movie theater. Okay, mostly because movie theaters are dark. Okay, also surrounded by lots of people. Not only now are they not moving around so much, they're eating and having conversations and whispering, and at the same time we're supposed to be concentrating on a huge screen, which is a huge screen of light and energy. Okay, and this movie is supposed to project a certain emotion out of you. Not that psychics don't like movies, and we don't like to feel our feelings, but at the same time, a movie is very influential over us. And at the same time, we get to hear and feel people's approval and disapproval of them, which we are not interested in at that time, but we seem to catch the energy anyway. Okay, we would rather be in places like live theaters. Okay, like plays, musicals, music halls, live music concerts. Okay, because we like the enjoyment of one, not artificial light. We like to have natural light, and also the performance is live, so we get to concentrate on the here and now. Opposed to movies can somehow make us afraid of the future or regret the past, right? The next one is concerts, music concerts particularly. Okay, opposed to music halls, right, where it's live music. Yes, concerts are live music, and the musicians are playing, and they're live and everything. It's just that concerts create the energy, more intensely, because the energy is influencing the people around us. People are screaming, yelling, sometimes they're even fighting, right? I would also say even football games or sporting events, okay, because the energy that is being projected on the stage is more intensified out in the crowd, okay. And oftentimes for psychics, it's kind of like we can't seem to hear the music, even though the music is the loudest thing. We're feeling everyone's energy because they are now intentionally expressing, right? We're getting a lot of intense intentional energy. So now if someone felt the need to be harmful during a concert, we can feel it. So we're more focused on being aware rather than enjoying the music. Opposed to that, we'd rather be in places such as the gym, or or pools, like public pools, because people, like I said, it's very predictable. And plus, gyms are fairly quiet, right? And everyone is in their own little bubble at the gym where they can express themselves, but to themselves. Yeah, you got people taking pictures, you got people, doing videos, vlogging, or whatever, but the less likelihood of someone, interrupting or even getting in the middle of your energy is very less than likely. Now, pools, even though there's a lot of people in them and you're surrounded and you're in water, which is, what do you call that? I guess like a charger, so to speak. It's very relaxing, and water is a very nice releasing energy. So whatever it is you are putting, into the water, it's going to get left there. So it's very relieving to be in places like gyms and pools. Okay? The next one I'm going to talk about is daycares and schools, and this is mostly for young children. Okay? Even though children are amazing to be around, right? Even, teenagers to younger children, that energy is very chaotic. Very chaotic. People in different stages of their life, beginning of their life, still learning, a lot of confusion, a lot of upset, and a lot of just calamity happening at once. There's a mixture of so many emotions at the same time. You got happiness, you got wonder, you got anticipation, you got excitement, you got anger, shame, and physical pain. Okay, and opposed to that, a psychic would most likely want to rather be in a graveyard or a cemetery, because graveyards and cemeteries can have the same exact energy, just on a very, very lower frequency, not so intense. The next one I want to talk about, please no one take offense to this, but work meetings. Now, as much as spiritual people still have jobs like everybody else, work meetings, whether we are part of them or not, we are 100% zoned out, because work meetings usually have to do with meeting financial goals. Nothing wrong with that. And to keep continuing to feed a corporate machine, when our mind and body and souls and spirits are really focused on personal growth and the growth of the world as a whole. We don't feel as though our business or company that we work for is going to in any way save the world, because it's like these goals that kind of go nowhere, and a lot of these goals are repetitive. They repeat each other every month. It's all the same goals, the same quotas, the same routines that you gotta follow. Opposed to that, the same type of places that have those rules and goals that a psychic or a spiritual person would rather be in, which is interesting, is that they'd rather be in the armed forces or the military. Because not only do they exert the same type of routine, but it's like it goes somewhere. I hope you guys are following, okay? It is for a purpose. The purpose is to defend. The purpose is to grow physically stronger and mentally stronger, right? Also, you are sharing a consciousness with people who are obviously on the same page, because these particular places are voluntary. Work is not a voluntary place. People are there because they need money. And you're dealing with way too many different types of personalities to really fit any molds that they're trying to expect that they expect you to fit. Armed forces and military is voluntary. So you are putting yourself in a position where you want to grow, and everyone around you wants to grow as well. Okay? The next to last one, would be prisons and jails. And this is kind of a no-brainer, but this one probably is the most interesting, because of all the negative energy that jails and prisons hold. Okay, and understanding that that wives' tale that prison bars are actually made out of iron to contain the evil inside. So the evil inside or the anger inside stays within the cellmate, stays within the person, and the person on the other side of those bars are not affected. But also that, contrary to that, if you were projecting positivity, your positivity cannot reach that person on the other end of that cell, as the iron bars are keeping the positivity inside of you. Now, opposed to being in prisons, psychics and spiritual people would rather be in places like courthouses and courtrooms. We find it to be a lot easier or a little bit more a controlled environment. People are more likely to control their emotions a lot better in places such as courthouses and courtrooms. There's a nice balance of give and take energy. People know if they get too out of hand that they will suffer consequences. So people are likely to just be on their best behavior. And for psychics and spiritualists, that is like the best environment to be in. Last but not least, the last place that a psychic would want to be would be a hospital. And this is not really a surprise to many people because hospitals have a lot of coming and going type energy. Okay, there are people on their way in, right, babies, and there are people on their way out. And that is not limited to age. Okay, so there's a lot of death and birth happening. Okay, there's also a lot of fear. Okay, a lot of negative energies happening, and also, a lot of secrets come out. When people believe that someone is about to be passing on or about to have a baby. Believe it or not, hospitals are one of the hot spots for revealing secrets, whether or not we hear them or not. But that is like the opportune place to really reveal them. Okay, this is like how, people will tell you how they really feel about you, after a woman gives birth, how her husband or boyfriend really feels about her, or he'll be so full of love for her, and the energy becomes overwhelming. Okay, like to the point where, we are seeing and feeling more that our bodies can see. Like, to put it in a nutshell, if there are 30 people walking down a hospital hallway, psychics and spiritual feelers and sensitives and mediums could probably see about 50 people, and the other 20 have already passed away, okay, or they're on their way back, or even on their way out. Okay, too much chaotic energy for us to sustain for a long period of time. So oftentimes we tend to avoid being in those spaces at all. However, if we were, necessarily needed to be there, we would not be there for long periods of time. And if we were there for long periods of time, you will notice a change in our behavior, and how we can be just completely, zero focused on trying to keep it quiet, or keep it, say as least words as possible, considering all the spiritual activity that is going on around us. Now, contrary to that, we would rather be in places such as libraries, okay, and life coaching seminars. You might not think those things are related, but they are, because libraries are for a quiet one. Okay, two, they are for higher learning, and I don't know that every spiritual person is a bookworm. But our craving for knowledge is very insatiable no matter how we get it. We don't necessarily need to read books. We are a fan of books, but we also are a big fan of knowledge and craving information. Okay, also life coaching seminars we'd rather be at because we want our frequency to increase or go up higher. We are looking and craving that positive, positive energy, that positivity, and all of that raising of our vibrations. Places like libraries raise our vibration because of the fact that we want an answer and we're looking for it and we find it. It is the oldest and easiest form of manifestation. It is energy that we can control, opposed to hospitals where we cannot control that energy because life and death have to run their courses. Okay, also, we cannot get in the way of science. At least that's how I feel. It's more than just, physical. It is also metaphysical, which makes hospitals extremely difficult for mediums, psychics, and spiritualists to be in. So what do you think about this? have any of these places that I mentioned ever been hard for you to be in? Maybe now you'll know why. Maybe you are yourself, a psychic or a medium or, a spiritualist, or a sensitive. Okay, so, did you find any of this to be helpful in your spiritual journey at all? Do you think I'm wrong, or do you think it's right or fitting, or are there other places that I did not mention that should be on this list? Just let me know, because I would love to open up this conversation a lot more. All right, my lovies, I'm Christina with Karma's Eye Psychic LLC here on Universal Spirit Podcast, also known as Mystical Charms, and I will see you in the next discussion in the next episode. All right, now take care.